Are we all cured? We got to fucking... We've got to do the fucking shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Lorne Armstrong, the owner and proprietor of the Trailer of Failure, is a mental demolitions expert. Now, what do I mean by that? I've seen this time and time again. These are people who they know the next time they talk to you, they don't have anything to talk about. So what they do beforehand is they prime you. They set you up for whatever they want to talk about. Now, Lorne, we know what he wants to talk about because he obsesses over it all day. And he just wants to make sure that you know when he calls, that's what he's going to be discussing. Why is that important? Because it might be happening to you. And it is an emotional primer with a detonator and a fuse that is lit well before they speak to you. This is dangerous because when you answer the phone or you call them back, you have officially said, I accept your emotional primer, and I am ready to receive whatever emotion it is that you have bottled up. My advice, and what real women should do, well, besides run from Lorne Armstrong, any man or woman, you need to not call them back, not see them in person. You need to communicate to them somehow that I understand you're angry, I understand you're emotional, whatever you want to say, and then tell them, I want you to get over it and speak to me when you are no longer feeling those emotions and you are ready to discuss this rationally. Tell them you get the feeling that if this conversation took place, nothing productive would come of it. Now with Lorne, if you told him that, guess what's going to happen? It's only going to get worse. And it's only going to progress to the point where it may be unmanageable. Because I think that's how he deals with everything. And if you don't give him what he wants, if you don't answer right when he wants you to, if you were supposed to call him at 8 o'clock and you don't call him until 8:30, from 8 to 8:30, there are going to be some pretty nasty things, some threats, well, idle threats. And when you finally answer the phone or call him back, as I said, you're saying, okay, Lorne, all right, it's your turn. Unleash that hydrogen bomb of anger and whatever else you want to try to manipulate me with, you want to try to belittle me with or abuse me with, go ahead, because I called you back and I said it was okay. He can also do this when you're on the phone. As he's realizing the phone call is coming to an end, or as he realizes, as I've said, he has nothing else to talk about, he has to cause a fight, a scene, he has to be emotional, he has to hang up or you hang up, and he knows that the next time you talk, it's going to be a long discussion where he's screaming and yelling. You're not going to get a word in because he's rehearsed everything. He doesn't need you to say anything. Just like with Kayla. K, that's all he needed. Unless you don't do that. Unless you say, I'm not playing your game. No, I'm just kidding. That's what Lorne would say. Unless you make it clear that, hey, I'm not going to take this. I'm hanging up. You call me back when you're ready to speak to me like an adult. Lorne, he would call you back. Oh, I'm sorry for being a dink. And then 15 minutes later, back into that long soliloquy, that long monologue he's been spouting for the past 2 hours at his trailer walls, buck naked with that stupid Bluetooth headset on, looking like a serial killer. And he's just waiting to unload again. He will also give you information about him because he knows if he does, he can bring that up later. He can say, I gave you blank. I don't know if I can trust you now. And oh my gosh, remember all of this? I gave you all my information and I don't know what's going to happen. He uses it because he knows he can go back to it. He plants these little seeds. He doesn't do this knowingly. He just goes off of emotion and his basic instinct, I guess you would say, his baser instinct. He just can't help it. Let me drop this bomb here. Let me put this mine here. And eventually, I can go back to it. It's like a breadcrumb. And the ultimate goal is rage. So if he leaves those breadcrumbs, those little pieces, he can just follow them to the house of rage and explode. And if Lorne's house of rage was real, it would have burned down the first year he was speaking to these catfish women. You have people like this in your life. People who are going to do things that you may not even see as a threat or something that could come back and bite you, and then it will come back and bite you. Lorne's idle threats are probably the lowest form of this. He wants to leave those voicemails because he knows he gets emotion out of it. So again, we know Lorne just projects his emotions onto everyone else. Again, like the time he hung up on Casey and she called back, or he called back, we both need to calm down. He was so giddy. He had planned that. He wanted to do this. We both need to calm down. I don't know if he literally just sits around all day watching garbage TV shows, memorizing this stuff, thinking this is how real relationships are. He says he doesn't watch anything. I mean, he goes over to Tony's and they watch game shows or whatever. His big story about, we were talking about the $25,000 pyramid, and it came on right after that. That is a big moment in his life. But let's talk about all of this crap he does on the phone. I'm kind of thinking we're going to break up, and there it is. The next time you talk, it's going to be whether or not you're going to break up. That's what he does. And you calling back is a receipt. Okay, I'll call you back. If I was a real partner for somebody like this, I would respond. If all we're going to talk about is whether or not we should break up, and you are having those thoughts, let me save you the trouble, because I don't feel that way. And if you're angry, that's just you. I will continue to live my life the way I have been living it. I would shorten all of that, of course. But I would tell them, I don't have time for this. And if you're just going to call and get angry, you're going to need to find somebody else as a target. And Lorne would gladly do that, but we know he can't find another target. Part of my favorite of him is when he tries to lay these emotional mines, when he tries to put these bombs just sitting out there waiting to explode, is when Ramona keeps telling him, well, why don't you go find somebody else? You're accusing me of cheating. I mean, basically, she could have said, you're accusing me of being a serial killer and murdering all of these people. You said I'm killing children. I'm stealing from people. I'm putting people out on the street as homeless. Why don't you find somebody that's normal? Well, why don't you start acting right? None of it matters. And that's proof. There's your proof. There's your proof of exactly what I was saying. He doesn't care about her response. He just wants to get to the part where he tells her his requirements, where he's hoping she will get to the point where he is. I love when he says, because your lying bullshit brought us to this point. What point is that, Lorne? You set these things up and you trip them yourself and you suffer the effects. They do not. It hasn't worked. It will never work. Even Jamie Amy, the robot, who was expertly designed to troll him and test him and see what he would take and see how far he would go and to see if he really changed, and we know he hadn't. Part of what he loves about these catfish women, and we know, I've mentioned it, he loves to stay in the pocket, is that he doesn't have to do much to get ammunition, to get the case for that bomb, so he can just load it with whatever he wants because of Rod and Jeffrey and Paul and the therapist and the doctor, Victor, and everybody else that comes along. So he loves it. They help him. They do it for him. That's why he's addicted to them. Because he can do this manipulation tool he's done all of his life. Can you imagine when his mother sent him to his room because he was a screaming rage kid? And then he came out, well, Mom, we just need to calm down. And I know we both are very angry. And I know, as he says to these women, I know we both want to be together. So again, he projects his emotions. Why is that important? Because if he feels that you're as angry as he is, then those little landmines he's left, they're working. And that is dangerous. And again, with the Paula story, he thought they were destined to be together. There were some notes left, as I've said, that were pretty nasty. How could you do this to me? We were in a relationship, whatever he said. I have 2 more versions of that story that I'm going to put out, and they're very similar. Some of them have more information, some of them don't. That particular one I got was an acquaintance of one of his relatives. You know how it is when you're sitting around at a party or you run out of things to talk about. I mean, I can tell you stories about my cousin. It's just things that you talk about. And that came up. So they knew a little bit about it. And it's usually embellished, usually a little bit of extra information sprinkled on there. But I don't think it's a stretch that stuff happened, to believe it happened. Because again, with these catfish women, I want to tell you very quickly, the one thing that scares me about Lorne when I'm talking about this, it's not we're going to break up. It's not anything else. It's what I told you about. You got a lot of explaining to do. Said in a way that would scare any woman out there. For someone to tell you you have to explain something when you don't even know what it is you're supposed to be explaining, that tells you, hey, when you call me, you have agreed to start explaining everything. You have agreed to my terms. It's almost like the Apple terms and conditions that everyone just scrolls down and hits accept. These catfish women, they didn't even listen. As far as I know, Tiffany didn't listen to anything except for his singing, for the most part. So he thought, she understands what I'm going to do, so I'm going to do it. I stress that because some of you are dealing with that right now. You're talking to that guy at work. We need to talk. We need to be talking. Whatever it is. You're dealing with it right now. Don't fall for it. You have to diffuse it. And again, how do you diffuse it? You have to tell them there's nothing to discuss. And if you think there is something to discuss, then you're going to have to calm down. Or you can text me it. You can send it to me in an email. Let them vent. This is important. People vent in emails and text messages. Let them get it out. Then all you have to say is, that is incorrect. There are no facts in what you just said. You're going off emotion. And I talk about the psycho woke people on Twitter, the lunatics. They go off emotion. They don't go off facts and logic. Because when people go off emotion, this is what happens. This is why Lorne acts the way he does. He doesn't have any facts. He doesn't have anything that would prove that what he thinks is the truth. So he just starts dropping bombs in the hopes that it will elicit an emotional response from you and that you will agree to let him vent all of his insecurities and try to bring you to his level. So the next time someone calls you and leaves you a bunch of voicemails or text messages or emails, they're priming you. Don't let the fuse be lit. Put it out. Because if you don't, you're just agreeing to it and the cycle is going to continue. I love you guys. Paula version 2 coming out soon. I will see you in the next one.